Good morning. It's another Friday, and here at Presence of Light, welcome you all with an open heart, open eyes, open everything. Uh, I put up the headline above, "What a week of energies." Wow. Yes. I'm totally amazed, and I'm sure as each of you are, that has been a week of energies from so many different dimensions, really, and different frequencies. The word frequencies came to me earlier. So during the week, I tried to feel into the energies of the week, and I take little notes. And I said, well, I think that's how I'm going to do my show. Is just feel into the energies. It's what I usually do, and why not just share it as it goes along? This morning, I was awake at 3:19, and I have neighbors across the street who bought a house, and they are demolishing it, which is crazy. Today is the day they're doing this. So if you hear some strange noises of like a backhoe and destruction, I've got the window shut, but that's okay. If you hear that, that's what's going on. And how perfect a message. What are we looking at in the world this week is so much destruction. And the irony of that, I don't know if it's irony, synchronicity, but of that occurring right now in the midst of all of this. And so I wrote something in my blog earlier. I may read it in a moment about that, because it is really, is just strange. But I did want to read, the thought keeps occurring to me as or say, I sometimes can't recite things because my memory's not well, but that's okay. And good morning to all who just joined. Good morning, Leonie. Is that I wrote this years ago when I first began my journey. It's a reminder to me, and a reminder for everyone, to live in the moment and appreciate the moment for the maximum amount that you can in any given moment. And it goes like this. It's really short. It says, it's really kind of fun. Every day is an adventure. It can be your wildest fantasy or your worst nightmare. You choose. You do that. Your wildest fantasy is a limited thought, and your worst nightmare is just an illusion. And that came to me because of all of the energies that I was receiving 25 years ago, that I had no clue what to do with, or how to interpret, or how to feel. It was like, wow, it was like being blown open. And as I go through this week, I don't usually get affected by a lot of energy. But this week I have been. My sleep patterns have been off. I've have moments where, periods where I'm out of focus. I can't focus. I can't gather my thoughts together in a cohesive manner. I'm actually seeing visions while I'm, not trying to. And I'm experiencing emotions on a level that are just everything. It's just like a potpourri of emotions. People I've talked to all week have had the same experience. Some are more physical and are being physically stressed out by the energies. This is what's occurring, not unneededly and not unnecessarily. What the messages that I wrote, the notes that I wrote, jotted down this week, were really kind of fun. Oh, Houston, Texan, we love you, Houston. God bless you, and thank you, and I hope you are doing much better today than in previous times. So thank you for joining us. But these were the messages that came, partly because of Houston, partly because of the Irma, which is going to, let's hopefully slide by Florida. We're working on that. And the earthquake this morning, I woke up to an earthquake this morning in Mexico. And I mean, these are intense earthly energies, but they're basically elemental energies. And when elemental energies occur in great massive amounts, it's a meaning of a great change. And it's not a change as in a lot of people are writing about a punishment for what we've destroyed to earth. Well, that's our personal perspective, and we could probably assume a lot of guilt on that, and rightfully so. But it's more about the change of not just the planet, but the whole galaxy and the whole universe. And this is what people forget to do, is when things happen to us, we become very myopic. And so just like the house they're tearing down across the street from me, it's been there since I've been here, and it's a lovely house. And the people who owned it before loved it and they enjoyed it. But we have new people who are starting a new life, and it didn't fit. And so they're tearing it down and building a new one. And there's no intention of harm of anybody. It's just in their world, they're preparing for something new for them. So too on Earth, as these calamities and all of this upheaval and what we appear as destruction occurs, it's really a preparation for something new. And I always like to come out of my negative self and look at it from a positive self. And so the words this week that came for me were, if you just feel into this, I'm sure you can relate to them: fear and release. And those two came together. And as humans, that's what the energy does. It brings up fear for us. It brings us into a state of survival mode. And that's not untrue. It is true for those of you in Houston and Florida and Louisiana and all of these places, and the Northwest, where the fires are raging horrendously out of control. Survival is key. This is our humanness. But there's also, the next two words were metamorphosis and evolution. So I saw people posting articles about metamorphosis and evolution. This is what also is occurring. We, as a whole planet, are evolving. Not just humans, not just vegetables, not just animals, not just the earth itself, but the universe itself is evolving. It's metamorphosing, if there is such a word. And this is by divine nature. And that was the next two words that kept coming to me: divine nature. And so I want you to think about your own divine nature. Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Laura. And Darren, I want you to think about your own divine nature. Not so much this human physical nature, but what you perceive to be your divine nature. Because it's the divine nature that's not going to change. That's unchangeable. It's who we are. It's who we will always be. But everything around that is going to change. It's going to go, and that's what's occurring. Another issue or thing that people were talking about and bringing up was multidimensional reality. And for me, that's easy. I've been multidimensional for 26 years. So it's second nature to me. I'm more multidimensional than I can be third dimensional, which creates a challenge in and of itself. But many of you are beginning to experience that. So people are talking about shifting from third dimension to fifth dimension to sixth dimension. And all of that is relative to who you are and how much you can understand at any given time. Good morning, whoever you are. Orly in Israel, good morning, bless you. And good morning, Jennifer. So this multidimensional reality is really natural to our divine nature. There's nothing, it's not new. It has always been that way. The difference is we're beginning to access and to experience things from those dimensions through our, what I call our higher dimensional selves, and bring it through and to begin to rationalize it and work with it here in the third dimension. Again, because of the shifts and changes in all of these energies that Mother Earth is actually going through and preparing us to be able to fully function as higher selves here. True beingness. And that brought me to the next line, was true beingness. Who are we truly? And what are we in truth? There are many, many, many theories. There are many, many schools of thought. There are many, many teachers who, in their beautiful wisdom, put it all together in a very concise package and present it to us as something, as sort of a pill to swallow or a food to eat and to try to digest. My purpose is to encourage each of you to ask yourself who you truly are. Nobody outside of you can tell you that. And I love the people who guide you to that place. They can guide you to open up and release things that may be blocking you from accessing that information. But only you, the divine being that you are, only you can really discern your true beingness. For those of us who have had death experiences, it's a little easier. Not always, but for many that I speak to, it has become much easier. Most people don't want to talk about that because it's still a very unnerving topic in the third dimension. So most of people who are multidimensional, like myself, we work and operate in the third dimension, and we have learned how to integrate the energies of all the dimensions that we're opening up to and receiving information to, and channel it in a way that doesn't trigger people immediately. But when I first came back, the joke was I put out streetlights when I ride by. That was my energy field. It's just so crazy, and I had no idea what was going on. None of this. It was the strangest process to try to put that into third dimensional rational thinking. So here we are. We're now a race of being who are third dimensional and multidimensional, all together on planet Earth at the same time. We've always done this. It's just we've become aware of it. And that's the key, is awareness, which the next line that I wrote was on the edge of tears. And I said, why? And that was my feeling all week long. I've been on the edge of tears. So if many of you have been feeling the energies of the week, the chaos, the confusion, the ambivalence, the struggling, the questioning of why, that proverbial question, why, and your heart has been opening to compassion for others, and your empathic nature is receiving all of these energies, and it's hard to control, you will be brought to the edge of tears. And if you do cry, please do. Allow yourself to do that. There are many teachings which will confirmed that mourning, mourn, mourning and crying and the wailing of women have always been, this is a feminine attribute, to be able to express that deep seated pain and hurt and release it. And that's a very healing practice. So I also, as that came up this week, I said, this is good to be able to cry. And it brings me to the thing where the next one was balancing of masculine and feminine energies. This is another energy situation where males in particular are having a real hard time opening to their divine feminine self. Most of males look at everything in a certain way because they've been programmed to look at it in that way. Most of us were taught as children not to cry, not to feel sympathy, not to, or not, you got to toughen up. You have to be the warrior, and the warrior means you have to be strong and be able to fight. And that's been a programming that has been very destructive to who we are as divine, fully integrated masculine and feminine beings. The new energies that are happening right now are opening that for many, many, many millions of men around the world. And hopefully I'll start to talk about that as well, as one who has come through a process of internalizing the feminine and masculine aspects, not so much the outward expression, but the internal acknowledgement and the internal guidance that it brings, because it changes the whole perspective of how you see everything in the world. And I highly recommend it to all the men who are listening to really, if you haven't already, start to work on presenting yourself with the divine feminine aspect of that which we call God. It's not just a male figure. It's not, this is where we've been lied to a lot, and purposefully, and it has done great damage to the individual, which when you go to find who your true self is, you will confront the divine feminine. You won't escape. She's there, and she is the wisdom of the ages, who without her, all of us wouldn't be here right now. Just as we respect Mother Earth and we say Mother Earth, well, it's the feminine. And it doesn't mean that you have to be effeminate in your actions or your behaviors. It's coming to know the true deep-seated movements of creation within you. So I'll leave that for another story. But that came up this week out of, presenting itself as being duality within unity. Because we hear a lot these days now about unity and coming back together and eradicating separateness and things of that nature, which are very important as we all start to embrace each other as these divine beings who are going to live in our truth. Again, the energies that are happening now are seeding the field of possibilities for that to occur. In spite of the damage, in spite of the pain, in spite of the suffering, in spite of the loss of life, which is horrendous. I do not think I'm dismissing that at all. I'm totally heartbroken. But I know that out of that chaos, the birth will occur of something much grander than we can sit at this point and actually perceive. It's beyond our comprehension in this moment. And that's, partly the balancing of the masculine and the feminine, unity, and coming into our sovereignty, of the sovereignty, which I mean in respect to owning who we are, owning it, and acting and speaking out as that being, as I am right now with you. I come to you as a sovereign being who has my choices to say what I'm saying comes from within my heart, not my head. My head would tell you a whole different story because I would say, oh, I can't say this, I can't say that. And if I kept listening to the head, which is a beautiful, it's my survival tool. I love it. It's, it's there for a purpose. But I also have to tell it to stand down. Stand down. Quiet. Thank you. I love you. But now is not the time. So the mind can be sometimes like a demanding child who's always, I want. And it's okay. But we have to look at it in that aspect and say, is that who I am? Am I that I want? Or is there something deeper? And what is that deeper being? This is who you are as your divine self. So the final message that came through in the past few days was courage to be oneself. And it was interesting, it was hyphenated. Oneself was hyphenated. So it's not only just oneself, meaning myself, but one self. All of us are part of that giant self. We are as humanity, and we're this beautiful, radiant ball of light. And each one of us are an aspect, a ray. If you want to choose your color, what color are you? I'm yellow. This is what I wore yellow today. This is who I am. This is who I feel that I am. Tomorrow I may feel like a blue ray or a red ray or a green ray. That's it. Be that, but be honest with yourself. Honor who you are and learn to stand up and speak that. Again, we're here in the third dimension, and there have been rules and there have been constructs that are not going to go away easily. So we need to know where we can say things, where we can't say things, and who is going to be triggered and who's not going to be triggered. Yes, thank you. We are all light. Yes, we are the light. We are the light. Thank you for confirming that in me. We are the light. And this is what we bring forth when we open our hearts, when we align with that heart. We start to flow, the light starts to flow. We start to emanate light. And we don't do it, you don't wake up in the morning, oh, I'm going to shine today. No, you just do it. You start being kinder to people. And then in the same vein, people start becoming kinder to you. There was a story of a woman in France, a friend in France, who was late for a bus. And she said, well, I got to get to where I'm going. So she stopped the school bus, and she knew the rules that they wouldn't do that. But she asked, and the bus driver refused her. But then the woman turned around and stopped and said, no, I won't go. I'm not going where you're going, but when I finish the route, I can take you there if you want to come along. And what it was all about was the woman bus driver saw the light in the person asking, because the person has been practicing and living her light. And so that woman saw her light, and in the same moment, that woman saw the light in the other person. And I said, how beautiful that people are actually experiencing this. And she shared it on her blog. And I bless her. Mia, if you're listening, I bless you. That was the most heartwarming story of my week, believe me. To see it in action, to hear somebody speak of this. Because this is when we truly are shining. We are the presence of light. And so when the show is the presence of light, it's more than just a theory. It's more than just a promise. It's more than just some guy up here trying to say, hey, you got to do what I do. you're more than welcome to explain it and express it in any way, shape, or form that you can, because this is your gift to the world. This is what you have to offer the world. And the greatest gift we can give each other is kindness. So in all of this chaos and all of this trauma that's going on, we have the greatest opportunity to serve each other as light beings. And yes, we can sit and mourn. And as I said before, I urge you to do that. But this morning, as I just before I came on, and just before they started demolishing the house across the street, I started writing things down in answer to those things that came up for me during the week, and I knew that we've all been struggling with, and and so the messages were really kind of simple. Don't fight. Don't fall into self-pity. Don't focus on the misery. We are the Christed ones. Trust. Be of service. Tap into the abundance. We are sovereign beings. We are divine beings. The old must be cleaned, and pretty much everything will change form in some way. See things differently. Allow space for integration. Listen to your heart. Connect deeper to Mother Earth while stretching to the stars. And that's really the blessing in all of this. And I have about 4 minutes left here. What I'd like to do is just take you on a little journey into the earth and into yourself, and just anchor in some balance. So if you'll bear with me and listen, what I'd like you to do is just inhale and take a deep breath. I want you to hold it for a count of 3, 2, 3. Now exhale to a count of 3, 2, 3. Another deep breath, and just to relax as you exhale. I want you to visualize, if your feet are on the floor, hopefully, that roots are extending from the bottoms of your feet. And I want you to think of tree roots. And it can be any tree if you're great at visualization, any tree whatsoever. But I want those roots to grow, and I want them to spread out. First, like the pine tree, but not like the pine tree being so shallow. I want you to extend them deep. Once you've spread them out, extend those roots deeper, deeper and deeper into Mother Earth. You may find a rock that you want to wrap those roots around. You may extend them all the way to the crystalline core of Mother Earth and grab onto a giant crystal and hold on to that. But I want you to feel that deep inner connection with planetary Earth. And once you've done that, what I want you to do is now draw yourself back up and back out. And right about your Danshan, your power line, is sort of ground level. And from there, I want you to see yourself as a giant tree. Let's do a giant redwood tree. I mean, they're one of the largest trees on Earth. Sturdy, strong, broad. And carry that vision up into your branches, and watch, and have your branches extend and grow out, so that when you complete the visualization, you are equally balanced, both above the ground and below the ground. And in this balance, you are the presence of all that is. And nothing can uproot you, and nothing can knock you down. You are a divine, sovereign being, and you are always welcome here. And just breathe into that. And so when the troubles get to you, the fears get to you, the imbalance gets to you, do a little brief meditation of centering and balancing. And in that moment, we'll just draw it back and release it and let it all spill out onto the surface of the earth, or rise up from the earth onto the surface of the earth. And know that as we come back into this presence of light, I love you, I thank you, and I respect you. May you have a glorious week, and please stay safe wherever you are around the world. Amen.